Hello and welcome back to God is Good Woodworks. What we have here today is a plaid patterned cutting board that was recently completed this week. The final glue joints have had plenty of time to dry. That would be making cuts this way through this board to insert these blonde colored or maple stripes after these darker walnut stripes were inserted this direction. And we had to make 8 cuts here to insert these maple strips to get complete the plaid pattern. And when looking for inspiration for this project, not sure what to build next, looked down at my feet one day and saw these plaid slippers and said, hey, how about a plaid pattern cutting board? And actually that didn't really happen. This is a pattern I found online and have built it once before, roughly a year ago. And of all the cutting board patterns that I have managed to put together over the last couple of years, my wife said that this is her favorite pattern. And because she said that, I decided to build another one. And this one will be a birthday gift for her older sister, who has a birthday coming up in roughly a week, close to a week. And she has been, her sister, the recipient of this gift, has been a big fan of woodworking. At least the projects I've worked on, she's always been very interested in seeing pictures and getting details. And I think it's something she would like to do if she had time. She doesn't. She's a nurse with a NICU unit and dealing with those little premature babies who are so sick and often born very, very early, very prematurely. And her life's work for 30 plus years has been to try to get these babies well enough to leave the hospital and go home with their parents. And I thought giving her this board for her birthday might be an encouragement to her. So that's what we're going to do. Going to gift it to her this Sunday, Easter Sunday, at a gathering at my in-laws, which would be her parents and my wife's parents, at their house. After we eat the Easter Sunday meal, we've got our ministry logo on here, God is Good Woodworks. And that's a little badge I make for each project with a custom-made branding iron that I had made. And I'm not yet brave enough to burn that logo right onto the project itself, because it often takes multiple attempts heating that branding iron with a torch and pressing it into a piece of wood to get a good burn that's legible enough. So the goal in this video was to expose non-woodworking types to that wow moment when finish is applied, liquid finish is applied to one of these cutting boards. And that's the time when the colors of the various species of wood really pop out. And experienced woodworkers will know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you've never built anything out of wood and applied finish to it, you might be unfamiliar with the difference between unfinished and finished wood, how much different it looks. This board currently has no finish on it. This is all bare wood. These dark squares are walnut. These reddish squares are cherry. And these lightest colored squares are maple. These stripes are maple. These stripes are walnut. The light colored walnut is sapwood. And believe it or not, these squares are also cherry, but they came from a different board than these squares. So this and this are the same species of wood, but from a different board. So if you run on a diagonal this way, all of these that touch corner to corner are cherry. So these, I was hoping, would look like these, but they don't, and that's okay. It just looks like there's a fourth color or a fourth species of wood in this board, and there really isn't. And this board will be finished, completely done and ready to give after a couple of coats of mineral oil have been applied to it on all sides. That's this oil right here, made especially for this purpose. And after 2 coats of that, 2 or 3 coats have been applied and had plenty of time to soak into the pores or fibers of the wood, then we come back over the top of that with this product here, which is a blend of the first product with beeswax added to it. All of these liquid finishes that are applied to these cutting boards are food safe, food grade. They will not harm you if you ingest them. There will be some residue left on the board that most likely would not come into contact with food, because most people are going to wipe them down a few times after they get them. That will be residual oil that's seeping back through the fibers back onto the surface of the board, whichever surface is facing downward. We also have to put these rubber feet on the board in the corners. There's 4 holes here that you may be able to see. Those holes have already been threaded. These feet were on there once I took them off to apply the finish. Another thing to tell you about cutting boards, if you're not familiar, is that on the boards I build, not the first few boards I built, but shortly after I got started, I started building end grain boards only. What that means is the end of the grain or the piece of wood is facing outward onto your cutting surfaces. This is the bottom of this board, obviously, where the feet go, but this will be the cutting surface on this board. And if this were still a tree, holding the board like this would be like taking a chainsaw and cutting a cross section of the tree this way. So the fibers in all of these pieces of wood are pointing up and down. Wood fibers are like bundles of drinking straws, and obviously that's so water can move up and down through that tree, and that's why the oil that is applied to these boards as a finish is able to seep through from this side all the way through this board into the other side. And if I put oil on here and let it sit long enough and we pick it up and flip it over, there will be a little bit of oil on the other side that seeped all the way through this board. That's not uncommon at all. But again, the main focus of this video was to show you that kind of wow moment when the colors really kind of come to life. So before I put any of this oil on here, I generally like to wipe off any sawdust, or in this case little fragments of wood from these holes I pre-drilled and ran those rubber feet screws into. And here we go. We'll shoot some mineral oil, food grade mineral oil enriched with vitamin E. I'll throw some of that on there and let you see the difference in appearance before and after. You can get these products at any big box home improvement store. Haven't bought any since the pandemic started because I haven't needed any since then. It'll take me a while to go through a bottle of each of these 2 products. A bottle of each one is good for several cutting boards, probably maybe 8 to 10 boards, but you can see here, unfinished versus finished, how that oil really brings out those colors in those various species of wood. And you can also see that that oil is soaking into those fibers, wood fibers, and dropping down through the inside of that board. A lot of other YouTubers who build cutting boards will fill up some kind of a Rubbermaid tote or container with food grade mineral oil, this product I'm putting on here now, and just drop the whole board in there and let it bathe, maybe even overnight, in the mineral oil. And that's okay. That's a fine way to make sure that board's got plenty of oil on it. And that keeps the wood from drying out and splitting, and also keeps bacteria from any raw meats that may be chopped on one of these boards. It keeps that bacteria from getting down into those pores and turning rancid and potentially making you sick. So there's one coat of the mineral oil on there. We'll throw a little more on there, and a second coat, and probably pause the video at that point until we've had some time for the board to absorb the first mineral oil finish. Maybe wait a little bit and resume the video when we're putting on the mineral oil beeswax mix. That'll give the board a real sheen, make it very shiny, almost like it's wet, like it looks here when there's standing oil on top of the board. I like to normally grab a hair dryer when I'm applying that beeswax mineral oil mix, and what I use the hair dryer for is I will warm the board to possibly open the pores of the wood. I don't think it really does, but I will also warm the bottle that the mineral oil beeswax is in, because that's a significantly thicker product than the mineral oil alone, and squirts out kind of like a lightweight grease, automotive grease. And I like to warm it up with a hair dryer, shake the bottle, get it mixed up quite thoroughly, and do that before I apply it to the board. And at this point, we'll take these gloves off and pause the video, come back in a little bit, and show the application of the mix with the beeswax in it.